Running a gold speedy shiner to start the day. I'm going to be trolling at about 2.5 to 3 miles an hour. And on my spinning rod, I'm going to be running a jointed number 9 rainbow pattern Rapala. We'll make our first pass with these lures and see what we can do. We'll be aggressive and see if there's any hungry trout out here. This lake hasn't been fished much, it just opened up. So, got my fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Oh, fish on, that fast. Couldn't even get the Rapala in the water. Wow. Speedy shiner, man. It can produce quick action. Let's see what we got here. Oh, it looks like a nice rainbow. Woo! Haha! He's feisty. Oh yeah, right there. Nice rainbow. Beautiful fish. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. I've been spending a lot of time talking about the basics of trout trolling. Now, for you guys who've been watching the channel for a while, a lot of this stuff is review, but there are plenty of new folks out there, and I want to make sure they are set up for success when they go out looking for trout. Along these lines, last week I did a video about my philosophy of speed as it applies to trout trolling. You know, I talked about starting off fast, then reverting to medium speed lures, and then reverting to slow lures depending on what the fish were showing you on any given day. Well, today I want to talk to you about lure compatibility. It's important that you are using lures, that are compatible to run at the same time at the same speed, okay? I had a guy reach out to me last week that was trolling grubs and some of my trigger spoons, and he was catching fish on grubs, but he said, I'm not catching anything on the trigger spoons. Well, that was probably because he was trolling too slow. He was trolling at grub speeds and he was catching fish on grubs, but he wasn't trolling fast enough to really trigger fish on the trigger spoons. So here I got a couple lures in my hand. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. What I have here in this hand, I have a gold Rapala, fine lure, a real fish catcher. In this hand, I have a gold flatfish. This is also a fine lure and a real trout catcher, but they are not compatible. This Rapala, it needs to be moving along at 2.5 to 3 to 3.5 miles an hour to be really effective. Whereas this flatfish, you want to be trolling this little guy at about 1 mile an hour or it's going to roll and tangle and it's just not going to work properly. So if you're out fishing with your fishing partner, it's important that you guys communicate, talk about what speed you're going to be trolling, and then decide on what kind of lures you're going to be pulling. Here's another example. Here is we'll stick with this gold theme. Here's a gold speed spoon. This is a great spoon for trolling anywhere from 2.7 all the way up to 4 miles an hour. But here's another spoon. It's a great trout catcher. It's a wee Dick Knight. Now this spoon, it's going to work best at about 1 to 1.5. They're both fine trout lures, but you don't want to put on one of my speed spoons on one rod and have your partner rig up with a gold wee Dick Knight on the other rod because your lures aren't compatible. It's all about speed. The speed spoon, it would be, a great match for a gold Rapala like that. And, likewise, the Dick Knight, over here would be a great match for this little gold flatfish. So, bottom line, make sure when you guys rig up when you're out there with your fishing partner, your wife, or whoever you're fishing with, or even if you're fishing by yourself and you're rigging up 2 rods, make sure you have, lures that run at compatible speeds. Start off fast. Maybe you want to start off with a speed spoon and a Rapala. That doesn't work, or maybe it does and then the bite shuts down. Go down to that medium speed stuff. Maybe put on a Castmaster and a cripple lure and troll at 2.2. If that's not working, you want to troll even slower. Maybe you want to put on a wee dick night on one rod and a 1-inch section of threaded worm on the other rod and troll at 1 mile an hour. Just make sure that your lures are compatible in terms of speed, and that's going to maximize your chances for success when you're on the water. And remember, you don't want to waste time on the water. You don't want to be trolling one rod with a high-speed lure at high speed and have a low-speed lure on your other rod. That's not really fishing. It's not producing results. You want the maximum amount of time on the water with lures that are running properly, and one way you can achieve that is running lures that are compatible at all times.